Dave Doran entering his fourth season at North Carolina State. The script has been the same for the past two seasons. Beat up on four cupcakes in the non-conference and then go 3-5 and lose to the better teams in the ACC to get to a bowl game. And NC State finished off getting blasted by Dak Prescott and Mississippi State 51-28. We bring in Mike McDaniel from inside the ACC to help us out with North Carolina State, a team that's on the fringe. They're on the brink possibly of breaking into the upper tier, Mike, but they need more consistency. And of course, the headliner going into 2016 is what to do about replacing Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, definitely. NC State's a team that I've really liked over the last couple of seasons. I think Mark and I, you know, the two of us have done our previews here over the past couple of years, and the team that I keep bringing up that's a potential dark horse in the ACC is NC State. And year after year, they've disappointed me, but they have all the talent in the world on both sides of the football to compete, even not only in if you put them in the Coastal Division, they could have competed there. I know they're in the Atlantic. They're playing against Louisville. They're playing against teams like Florida State and Clemson. They're playing the tougher of the two divisions in the ACC, but they have all the talent in the world to compete. It's been so frustrating to watch as a guy who follows the ACC religiously. Looking at NC State at the quarterback position, Jacoby Brissett obviously is a big loss. He's moving on to the NFL. Who will they replace him with? Well, Jalen McClendon is a guy that will be entering his sophomore season. He was a four-star recruit in the class of 2014, a guy that NC State really had their eye on as far as looking into the future when they were able to get him a couple of seasons ago. He's a big guy, 6'4", needs to put on a little bit of weight. He's a little bit over 200 pounds now. Definitely a bona fide pocket passer, much like Jacoby Brissett was. Has the build of a guy who could potentially be a dual threat quarterback, but his speed doesn't really show it. Much like Jacoby Brissett, just likes to sit back in the pocket and throw some darts. And I think Jalen McClendon has shown that not only in the spring, but throughout his limited game reps and practice and his many practice reps last season. He only attempted 14 passes last year. He was 8 of 14 for 69 yards. Obviously, this will be his first season really with a full grasp of the offense and an opportunity to contribute right away. But he's a guy that will definitely be replacing Jacoby Brissett at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and just to underline the contribution of Jacoby Brissett, we think of him as just a dual threat guy that makes big plays, but he really took care of the football. Only 6 interceptions last year, 5 the year before, so that's 11 turnovers in the passing game in the last 2 years against 43 touchdown passes and 12 rushing. So he produced 55 touchdowns against 11 picks, and this North Carolina State offense produced over 33 points per game. That was third in school history. We'll see if Jakobi Meyers, but most likely Jalen McClendon, is able to, after some light touches in the non-conference, possibly get his footing and get ready for more substantial play and be able to replace that kind of production. The running back position has been ultra talented for this North Carolina State team in recent years. Shadrack Thornton with his issues in leaving the program. Matt Days was a kid who was third behind Dalvin Cook, Mike, and also Elijah Hood in the ACC in rushing at the point that he tore a ligament against Clemson, missed the rest of the season, and they really want Days to be the man and probably help out most likely McClendon at quarterback.
Yeah, and Matt Days was limited this spring. Obviously was dealing with the knee issues that you alluded to, but when he was playing last year, obviously extremely effective. The leading rusher with 865 yards. Carrying the ball last year, 6.5 yards per carry and 12 touchdowns, which was by far the team lead as far as rushing goes. And he's a guy that, look, NC State's really going to rely on should he be healthy, and he can definitely be the bell cow running back they're looking for. Jaylen Samuels is a guy who plays a lot of tight end, actually, but he rushed the ball a good bit last year as well, at 56 carries for 368 yards and 9 touchdowns. So he kind of fulfills that, that tight end H-back type role where they're not afraid to hand him the ball as well as toss it to him as well. So NC State definitely has some talent there, not only at the running back position, but also with their receivers. Jaylen Samuels is a guy, 65 catches, nearly 600 yards, 7 touchdowns last year. David Greenidge is a guy that they're losing at tight end, but they're gaining a tight end in Randy Moss's son, Thaddeus Moss, who will head into the season trying to make an impact as a freshman. He was the number 5 tight end in the class of 2016 out of Mallard Creek High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. Big 6'4", 240-pound frame. And he's a guy who could definitely slide in and kind of pick up the slack that David Greenidge has left. A guy that can definitely take some of his touches away. With Greenidge moving on to the NFL. So NC State's got a lot of talent returning on the offensive side of the ball, but they'll definitely be young at some of the key positions, most notably a quarterback with Jalan McClendon taking over at the helm.
Now, despite all that production in 2015, Doeren still made the decision to go in another direction in firing Matt Canada as the offensive coordinator. He brings in Elijah Drinkwitz from Boise State. The Broncos, one of just 10 programs last season that averaged at least 39 points per game and 500 total yards per game. Also interesting to note that Drinkwitz was on the coaching staff of Gus Malzahn that won the national championship in 2010 at Auburn. Actually, that was Gene Chiswick's staff there in 2010 at Auburn, and he also coached under Gus Malzahn as well. All right, turning to the defense, 8 starters coming back, so the defense and the running game may be the key contributors in helping out a young quarterback and an inexperienced quarterback early in the season. Bradley Chubb, a big playmaker, going to be missing off of this defense, Mike.
Yeah, and NC State, they kind of had a decently ranked defense last year, but I think we can contribute that to their soft non-conference schedule in which they played teams like Troy. They played a team like South Alabama, Old Dominion. Teams that, you look at NC State and you're like, okay, wow, they got through their non-conference schedule at 4-0, but let's see what they're really made of when they get to a conference schedule. And as we saw last year, they kind of limped to the finish, and then they got blown out in the bowl game against Mississippi State and Dak Prescott, who had an outstanding collegiate career quarterback for the Bulldogs, but the NC State defense really struggled in that game, containing that dual threat presence that Dak Prescott provided. So will NC State be able to take a step forward on the defensive side of the ball against quality opponents this year? We saw their defensive metrics skewed a little bit a year ago, but they'll be returning 8 starters on defense, like you mentioned. So this is a defense, for the most part, that's been around, and they've seen these cats before here in the ACC. They're used to some of these opponents that they'll be playing. They're guys that are going to come back with another year of experience, another off season to get into the weight room and get better, another spring to kind of continue their growth and development under the defensive system there at North Carolina State. So this is a make or break year for Dave Doeren. I believe it starts not only at quarterback with Jalen McClendon, but with the front 7 for NC State. Will they be able to get enough pressure on the quarterback to turn teams over and give Jalen McClendon and that offense opportunities to succeed? That's going to be something we're really going to want to watch with NC State moving into the fall.
Yeah, to your point, Mike, you mentioned that NC State, the statistics look good on defense. 29th in total defense, giving them 351 yards a game last season. But really, 2 superior offenses that they played. They gave up 56 to Clemson. They gave up 51 to Mississippi State in the bowl game. Then if you drop a tier, we know that the talent is there at Florida State, but they had struggles offensively. They gave up 34 to Florida State. The rest of the schedule, you mentioned the 4 light touches in the out-of-conference play, and then also they play BC, Wake, and Syracuse in its own division, and then had a pretty easy time of it looking at the non-division games with Virginia Tech in particular. So they were able to make their way through the non-conference, and I also missed the North Carolina game. They gave up a 45 spot to Marquise Williams and Elijah Hood there. So when they played the big offenses, they could not contain them. Again, 56, 51, and 45 to those 3 big play offenses. B.J. Hill, a guy to look out for coming up this fall at defensive tackle. This is a big stat. 11 tackles for loss from that position is major. Jared Fernandez at linebacker comes in with 4 career INTs. Mike Rose is a huge loss, Mike, looking at NC State trying to further the defensive production. He had 15.5 tackles for loss and 9 sacks this past season. So again, NC State, they're right in the middle of the pack in looking at the ACC programs. 7-6, 8-5 the past 2 years, trying to break into the upper echelon. Mike McDaniel from inside the ACC breaking it down. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thanks.